Meantime, facing new fire over the deal to release 5 Taliban leaders from Gitmo. Some critics are charging the president ignored the law by failing to notify Congress 30 days in advance. Others warn there could be serious consequences, and not for the reason you may think. My next guest is the author of a brand new book, Faithless Execution: Building the Political Case for Obama's Impeachment. Andrew McCarthy, a former federal prosecutor and policy fellow at the National Review Institute, is my guest. Great to see you, Andrew.
Good to see you, Gretchen.
So what is the little thing that we don't know about what could be actually going on here, the unintended consequence?
Well, I think what they're obviously trying to do is close down Guantanamo Bay. It's been it's been the president's objective really since the second day in office to close Gitmo. He made a big announcement without having a plan how to do it. He made a big announcement his second day, full day in office.
He signed an executive order.
Yes.
It was the first thing that he did, basically after being inaugurated.
Right.
All right. So what if he were to release more prisoners now in the near future and gets nothing back in return?
Well, it's likely that he will release people and get nothing back in return. We got about 150 people left at Gitmo, maybe a little bit less than that. There isn't much that could be offered in exchange for them, but he wants to get rid of them. He thinks the exchange is closing the facility.
So you have the I word in the title of your book,
right.
And Senator Marco Rubio was asked whether or not this could end up being an impeachable offense, and here's what he had to say.
Well, I'm not at this point calling for impeachment. This president has 2 years left in his term. We hope they've passed quickly, that we can somehow have a majority here in the Senate so we can limit the amount of damage he's doing to our economy and to our national security.
All right. So Marco Rubio not ready to say that word yet.
Right.
Are you on this particular instance?
Well, I think there's impeachable offenses in this transaction. I don't think that they include this 30-day notification statute that everybody's whipped up about in Washington. I actually think their pride is hurt because they weren't notified. But to me, you have the commander-in-chief who's responsible for force protection returning to the enemy some of its top operatives in wartime while they're still conducting offensive jihadist operations against our troops. It's a massive dereliction of duty.
Okay, so it's very interesting because we did a little research here. And if you go back to June 2013, right. Jay Carney, the president's spokesperson, said this.
As we have long said, however, we would not make any decisions about transfer of any detainees without consulting with Congress and without doing so in accordance with U.S. law.
So that was just a year ago.
Yeah,
and they did, in fact, just the opposite.
Right. I'm so glad you did that because much more important than what the statute says is the fact that the administration lied about it. In other words, the president in good faith can refuse to execute a statute that he believes is unconstitutional, but you don't get to lie to Congress about it and lull them into a false sense of security about whether you're going to honor the terms or not. And that's what they've done here.
Andrew McCarthy is our guest today, giving us his insights. Check out his new book. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Gretchen.